worthwhile content to teachers throughout the country. So we're very fortunate to have some of the best teachers around. And I'm going to introduce them to you now, and then I'm going to step in the background and let them go forward and provide you with some great content tonight. So I'm going to start with Chris Meckelberg. Chris?
Hello, how are you tonight, Rich? Thanks for having me.
Good.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks. Chris is part of the 5-star PE team, and we'll be seeing and hearing from some of his partners later on. And then there's on the top right there is Brian Hull from Denver, and his better half, Brad Hull from Jefferson County and also in the Colorado area. So we're very fortunate to have a great selection of teachers. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris and let him start the evening off.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rich. We have some awesome guests lined up for us this evening. We have both Brian Wickerin, Brad's colleague in Jefferson County Public Schools in Colorado, as well as one of my colleagues, Dan Gavrish, who is a professor at Martin Luther College in New Ulm, Minnesota. And he's been teaching the PEAT program and the HEAT program there for many years now, as well as head varsity women's basketball coach. So we'll get into a little bit of everything tonight. First, I just want a little bit of an update on what's going on here in New York, and maybe we'll get a little bounce around update from Brian and Brad as well. I know here in New York in the last 48 hours, we have had a directive by our governor to now keep our schools and distance learning going through our regularly scheduled Easter and Passover break, which is scheduled to come up on April 9th. So except for now Good Friday and obviously the weekends, we're supposed to be continuing remote learning in some capacity to the students throughout this time. Many districts are now debating what this is going to look like. Is this going to be more enrichment? Is it going to be more in the vein of curricular activities and expectations for students? And of course, New York City is also battling that. And ever since that directive, it's been an all-out onslaught between teachers and the administration about what this is going to look like. So I'm sure there's much more to come from that. And also we have gotten pretty much word that in New York here in our suburban districts around New York City that will be out probably the month of May as well, if we even come back in June. So my district is now preparing an online app through that Glide app that we'll see some examples of tonight as well, and just how to put together resources for students and parents in one location that they can easily pull from. So I know tonight we'll get into a lot of resources, where we found them. I know Rich and myself and the guys have comprised a comprehensive list of everything we found on Twitter right now, which is your #1 go-to spot. And if anyone has any questions on links tonight, they're found in the description. So if you're watching on YouTube and right under the video itself, there's a little triangle, and you just press on that triangle and a description will pop down underneath it. We have links there to our Twitter handles, all the websites, and the resource that Rich put together with all the Twitter links for Google Drives across the country. Brian, you have an update for us?
Yeah, there's not too much of a change from last week when we met, but the newest change is that our governor, Jared Polis, has officially put schools out through at least April 30th. So we're officially out of face-to-face instruction through April 30th. And all of my teacher friends and acquaintances out here in Denver, along with myself, we just don't really see a way how we're going to go back to school this school year. Denver, they're saying, is one of the main hotspots in the nation now. It's like the numbers of COVID cases are doubling every 3 days. So it's truly a pandemic out here. And we just think our governor, he's been on top of it so far. We think he's probably going to bag the rest of the school year soon in terms of face-to-face and just resume virtual learning the rest of the school year.
Wow. Brad?
Yeah, not too much to add after Brian spoke. Even though he's in Denver Public Schools, Jeffco Public Schools is in the same boat, especially after Jared Polis, our governor, issued the April 30th. But he also stated it's very unlikely that schools will be returning to in-person learning. So that's all the update I have because my brother said everything else.
I know Pennsylvania, where I'm currently staying, has closed schools indefinitely. So that sounds like the rest of the year. And I think California as well has come out and put that on the record that they're going to close schools as well.
Yeah, and I was actually on Voxer earlier, and Bill Bodie, who was a former SHAPE Teacher of the Year, he said North Carolina, where he is, they're at least out through May 15th, but he says almost the same as I said. He doesn't see that happening.
Okay.
Delaware is scheduled to go back on May 18th. But this woman, Lori Minka, thinks that's not going to happen as well. So it seems like it's the common trend across the U.S.
Yeah,
Definitely.
sure is. Tough times. Hey, Brad, would you like to introduce? I see Brian's ready to join us here. Brian Wickerin. Want to introduce him for us?
Oh yeah. It would be my pleasure. Brian Wickerin, he's extremely modest, so I'm going to do the bragging for him. He truly is the best adapted physical education teacher I've seen. He's probably the hardest working adapted PE teacher I've seen as well. He gets acknowledged very consistently. On his recent acknowledgement, he was the 2019 Shape America Adaptive Physical Education Teacher of the Year. It's just a pleasure to have him. Anybody that needs a resource with adaptive physical education, he's definitely the go-to when it comes to that. I'm just glad he was able to join us today. He truly is a leader in this field.
Brian.
Thank you so much for being with us, Brian.
Yeah, so I'm on an iPad, so I'm trying to get my camera to flip. Do you know how to do that?
Usually if you tap on the screen of the iPad, there might be a little camera icon that has a reverse arrows in it, and that might flip it.
Yeah. It's not doing it. I don't see it.
Mm.
So I'm going to have to go this way, I guess.
There you go, Brian.
How's that working?
Perfect.
Yeah, that's good.
I just got to get to stand in its outer box here.
Not a problem.
I don't know why it wasn't, I can't find it in this.
Ross is in the chat. He just told us that Indiana closed schools for the year today.
Yep. Wow.
And I'm thinking that's definitely going to start happening more and more as each day passes.
Okay, I think Brian's ready to go.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much, Brian. I'm going to let Brad take the reins on asking you the questions that we came up with, and feel free to elaborate and just let us know any of your thoughts or feelings on what you have to do on a daily basis, what you're expected to do, and how you're feeling. How's the family? How's everybody doing by you?
We lost his volume.
Brian, we can't hear you.
Technical difficulties here. I don't know. Can you call him and see if we can?
Well, I would think you might be able to drop out and come back in if it's just.
All right, want me to try that? I'll try again. Brian, can you hear us? No, we can't hear him. I guess you have to call him.
You want me to call him?
Yeah, why don't we call him and then maybe we can bring Dan in the meantime and then come back to Brian.
No, that's all right. If you call him on your speaker, Brad, it'll be more than loud enough.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
And being that we don't have his audio anyway, he could just stay on the audio, stay on the visual.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, Brian, we're just gonna do this through speakerphone. Chris, is it loud enough?
Yep. We can probably even turn it down a little bit.
Okay,
No,
Brian,
we-
do you hear me?
Yeah,
No,
I need to go to my iPad.
Okay, Brian said he's going to go to his iPad, so he hung up, and I think it's going to work now.
Perfect.
While we wait, I'm curious to see if any Jeffco people are on. If any Jeffco people, I'd love to have you guys put something in the chat to see.
Anybody who's here listening right now, feel free to just say hello in the chat so we can give you a shout out on screen. And thanks for being here as well.
Brad, your kids are back in school this week. What you've been doing a lot of online stuff with them?
Yeah. Well, we had spring break last week,
Yeah.
and then we're just slowly getting going now. But the interesting thing that our district is doing that I really enjoy is every Monday there are no students. It's a pure planning day and a catch-up day for students. And I think that's been going to be working out really well. I see that Coach Lee is in this chat. I'm going to give him a big shout out. I collaborate a lot on a daily basis with Coach Lee. He's a phenomenal middle school teacher. He also serves on the middle school leadership team with me in Jeffco. He would also be a great resource if you ever wanted to reach out to him. He does a great job really into technology. He's just a fantastic teacher. He's been doing it for quite a long time. He does a great job. So thanks for coming on, Dave.
And Ross just asked us how long we've been doing virtual or long distance learning so far. I, along with Denver Public Schools, the Denver School District has not started yet. We were originally slated to have our spring break this week. And when this whole pandemic came out, they just extended our spring break to 3 weeks, just so the district could have a solid plan on how to roll it out. So we officially start next Monday on virtual learning and our strategic ways to roll it out with our students. And Brad, this is your third week, or is this your second week with virtual learning?
It's a little over 2 weeks. And then I wanted to give another big shout out. I got a text from David Yankee. He is our Jeffco Public Schools physical education coordinator. And he's also very, very modest. There he is. He says, I'm in. He truly is the biggest advocate I've ever met with physical education. He would be a great resource to seek out if you need any questions. He truly is a gift to this field. David Yankee, thanks for coming. He's awesome. Probably one of the best PE people you can meet.
I'm gonna throw something while we're waiting for Brian here. I'm gonna throw something out. We just before we started went live here. We talked a little bit about the slide app, or how to make an app with the tool slide.
I think it's
on
called
Google.
Glide app, right?
Oh, Glide. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Glide.
Yeah.
So maybe can you guys share a little bit about that? That's one of the resources we put in our description box. Does
Yeah,
anybody use
sure.
that, or maybe even somebody that's online can talk about it?
Definitely. As far as much as I know about the Glide app, I've seen it shared around a couple times on Twitter. And now in the last couple of hours, we have gotten the directive in my district that we're going to now compose our own Glide app in order to give students more of a resource database for them and their families to be at home, easily find and access different skill themes and any kind of content we want to deliver through this app. And as far as I know, what it would consist of is you would have all of your resources in Google Docs, all labeled accordingly. And then based on your skill theme or content area or even shape standard, you would then label that sheet in your Google Doc. So you'd have possibly 150 documents in a Google Doc, and each time it's a different skill theme, you'd have those documents clustered by the sheet at the bottom of the Google Doc tab. And then you're able to just simply pull all those Google Docs using this Glide application creator, and you can pretty much customize it and tailor it however you want for your district, for your setting, and it makes it real interactive and user-friendly for not only teachers but parents as well. So it's really a fantastic thing that has come around now, and we're not going to be the first ones to do it. I've seen fantastic ones already completed out there, and that is on our links that we have there in our Google Docs in the description tab. If you click on that link, it'll be a huge Excel spreadsheet with all the resources that we've found so far. And the one in particular that is really exciting on there is the Glide app one. So you can reference that right away.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the Glide apps on Twitter, and like the ones I've taken from others, I have a Glide app on the appropriate practices from Shape America. I have a Glide app on all of the shape standards and grade level outcomes for middle school and high school. The one person I've seen on Twitter that definitely knows how to operate the Glide apps, and the ones always putting them out, is the Twitter handle Support Real Teachers.
Mhm.
Which Ross just mentioned.
Ross is saying that's Kevin Shepard. Yep. So he's behind creating that app. So that's fantastic.
Which Kevin's another great resource. He's always putting out amazing things, along with Ross himself. A lot of stuff that is turnkey you can just take and release out to your students, or great resources you can refer to as a teacher.
In that spreadsheet, there's a couple of resources there from Ross. Feel free to follow him on many platforms, but he's always live on Twitter every day.
Yeah. Ross is going to be our special guest in a couple of weeks. Is that correct?
Yes, actually, next week we have both Corey Mortensen from Heart Tech coming on live with us to describe a little bit more about the one-to-one aspects of the heart rate monitors with students' individual user devices, as far as iPhone or Android app, and how they could collect that data and then bring it back to a teacher portal. And then we also have Jordan Stolp from Gopher coming on next week, and he'll do about a half-hour demo presentation on the latest and greatest from Gopher. So we're really excited to see what they have to offer. Just yesterday, I know Andy Tupy went live on Twitter with a live booth from Gopher, and that was well attended and well viewed. So that was fantastic to see. And then the week after that, we do have Ross coming on. Mr. CPE will be here live to tell us everything going on in his district in Maryland and what kind of content he's created lately and where he sees it moving from there.
All right, is this Brian back on?
No.
Oh, this is Dan. Hi, Dan.
Hello. Am I black and white to everyone?
You're black and white to everyone.
It looks like it's Halloween.
I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah.
I live stream from this location for classes all the time, and I don't have this issue, so I don't know if it's something I'm doing here,
Well, not
or
a
if it's
problem.
something from your end. But special effects in the house tonight.
Yeah,
like
we'll just close our eyes and listen to you, okay?
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, thanks so much, Dan, for being with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So it seems I've been texting Brian. It seems as if he's having a lot of technical difficulties. So I think I'm just going to call him back again, and then we're just going to go through my speaker on my phone. How's that?
Sure.
Oh, I can now, yeah. All right. Oh,
Rich,
great. Okay.
what was it?
Dan, we'll see you in a little while.
Sounds good. I'll try to work on this
Okay.
black and white.
Rich, did you say you were going to connect Brian, or do I need to call him?
There he
Oh,
is.
he's
I
back
got him
on.
up here right now.
All right. So for those of you that just joined us, our guest this week is Brian Wickerin. Brian Wickerin is from Denver, Colorado. He is into adaptive physical education. He's one that will not boast about himself, so I'm just going to let everyone know he is extremely gifted into the adapted PE field. His recent big accomplishment was he was the 2019 Shape America Adapted PE Teacher of the Year. So he is a great resource, not just for adapted PE, but just for any PE pedagogy that you may need. Thanks for joining us, Brian, and sorry for the technical difficulties.
Yeah, this Be Live is new, or Apple Be Live. It looks like an app. But I think I got it figured out. I went to my laptop. I've been using my iPad for all my Zoom meetings the last few weeks. So, yes, thanks for having me and being a part of this discussion. And hopefully you can hear me and see me. It looks like a little, like the other guy that was just down there, a little whiteout, kind of.
Yeah, no,
Right,
you look just fine.
All right. So I don't know. I'll try to move. So I don't know if it makes a difference or not, the glare, but I see a little glare. So where do we want to go, Brad?
So Brian, I think if you don't mind, can you first explain to everyone your unique role? Because I think it's very unique what both you and Katie do in our district.
So this is my 31st year in education, and I truly love getting up for work every day. I don't dread getting up, and I mean, it's my passion is the population that I work with, and I'm so privileged and fortunate to have the position I do. I was in California for 17 years, and this is my 14th year in Jeffco Public Schools, and we're a large district of 85,000 students, 154 schools. And the unique thing about my position is that we're pre-K through 12th grade. So that's the fun part about it is I get to see these students grow and develop from elementary all the way through high school. I'm with them, and being in such a large district, it's sometimes has a unique what do I want to call it, unique kind of circumstances that arise, but we always, as a team, we always get through some of the more difficult times. And so what I do is I work with all the SSN teachers, which are significant student need type programs, and our ASD programs those are our autistic spectrum disorder programs. And then I have a few onesie schools too. So up until a year ago, I had the whole district by myself. It was I was going to, depending on the day, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, I was going to 8 schools a day. When I go to the mountain schools, it's like 5 schools or 4 schools because there's more drive time. But I was trying to cover the whole district by myself, and I was fortunate this last year to bring on another person and split the district in half. So unfortunate I don't get to work with Brad this year, which I have in the past years, and it's such a great team that you develop in those relationships when you get to work with the same person year, and you get to know what their needs are and how I can support them. So I do provide like onesies. I do go to onesie schools. That means there's one student there, but I also it's a variety of settings. I do direct services to collaboration type services to consultation type services. It's just depending on the needs of the schools. So like one of my high schools where I used the HeartTech Plus monitors, I have 43 students that are using them. And that's just the students. We have 3 classes, and we're not having any of the peer mentors, the monitors. But and then the other thing is that a couple more things I do is that I run and coordinate the adapted athletics program in Jeffco Public Schools, and we do an event every month, which is it's just a great way. our former superintendent put it this way: it's a great assessment tool on those adaptive athletic days, because they're taking what they've learned through their adapted or unified physical education class in middle school and high school, and carrying that over to a whole new environment in a huge, large setting. So one of the places that we hold these events at is a huge field house that has 6 regulation-sized basketball courts in it. So you can imagine 6 basketball games going on, the type of sensory overload that is going on for those students. And we've slowly grown this program from just a couple of events back in 2007, 2008 school year to currently where we have an event every month. And the students in middle school and high school are working on those particular skills, team strategies, through their physical education class or adapted or unified physical education class, depending on the school, what it's called. And the tipping point now has come where athletic coaches at the high schools are saying, hey, we want our basketball team to help volunteer and run these. We want one of our high schools don't even have a program at their high school, and they run and commit to run our track meet every year, which is our biggest event. It's probably like 350 students, middle school and high school students that attend, and they come and run our event for us. And that's the cool part, where we get these high school athletic teams come run the event. So how this is all set up, we mirror exactly what the Gen Ed extracurricular activities are being done. So in August, we do cross country, we have a cross country meet, just like they do with the Gen Ed students. September, we have soccer, flag football. We have Columbine High School football team who runs our flag football day. So we have, that day is pretty cool because we have 5 football games going on at one time, and we play the width of the field. So we're really aware of the needs of our students that are participating in these. So we make all kinds of accommodations, and we make all kinds of modifications so that all students are participating, whether they're in a power chair, a manual chair. Like I said, they're carrying on what they've learned from during their PE class, carrying it over to this whole new environment and being a part of this athletic event. And then they wear their school uniforms. They're a part of their school team. And so we go all the way through the year. Basketball is our biggest event, where we do that in January and in March. And then April, we're supposed to have softball day, but that has been postponed or canceled for the meantime. We're trying to think of a virtual way to do this. We're kind of working on that. I don't know if that's going to happen. And then May is our big track meet. So, and then that's kind of the middle school, high school, what goes on. And then elementary school, we do what's called the PALS program that I created a couple of years ago, Peers Actively Learning Side by Side. So a student that is in an SSN class or an ASD class, they have a PAL that's partnered up with them. And that's been a huge success at a lot of the schools that in the elementary setting that have an SSN program or an ASD program. And we get the parent permission for them to participate in the program. And the cool thing about this is that some of these students that have started in the PALS program has carried that on through middle school, being in a peer partner in their unified PE class, and then on to high school. So we're starting kind of at the grassroots of the elementary and moving them through our middle school and high school. And they develop those relationships and friendships with those students. It's such a great way to get going. And our goal is to get more elementary programs to do the PALS program and kind of set that tone at an elementary age. So, and then lastly, I am employed part-time with the Colorado Department of Education, and I'm the adaptive PE specialist for the state. So I do trainings around the state for school districts that need adaptive PE support or strategies. It could be a half day, it could be a full day, depending on what that school district needs are and what they're looking to do. Are they looking to increase and develop and start an adaptive PE program in their district? That's one of the things. Or it's just strategies for their gen ed PE teachers, because we all know that one class that you had at a university or a college, wherever you went, that one semester 3-unit class doesn't make you an expert in adaptive PE and working with students with special needs. And especially our population with our students with autism, that's the fastest growing population in the United States. And so it becomes more of a challenge year after year. But again, I'll go back to one or more, I would love to video some of these before and after in the elementary setting that has the PALS program with our ASD, our students in the ASD program. The success has been unbelievable. I mean, even the paras have kind of off to the sideline and are not even a part of the class anymore. And it's the PALS, those gen ed students that have kind of taken over that teaching and the learning that's being going on with those students. So that's, I always, one of the things that's always cool when you leave, like I have a couple of pairs like, wow, the progress that they have made in this is unbelievable. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I do. And then there's other things too, like we started Strider bikes and Riften bikes, trikes, and power pumper cars. If you guys are familiar with those, we start that in the elementary schools. And we were just granted a huge grant through Medicaid to develop a bike program for our high schools. So we're trying to implement this bike program at the early ages and carry it on through to high school. And Medicaid's been a big part of that. With that, and then the last thing that we've started this year, and it's going to be a 3-year project to roll out through all our high schools, is we incorporated a company called Move Through Yoga into our adapted and unified PE class. So one day a week, they come in and do yoga with our high schools. So we did 4 schools in the fall. We did 8 this spring. We're going to do 12 next fall. Move Through Yoga. The yoga instructor and 2 of our assistants come in, and the success of that program too has been huge for our students in Jeffco.
Hey,
So thanks so much, Brian. And speaking with adaptive physical education, I see that Bonnie Walker's on, and I want to give her a big shout out. And I know Brian would agree. Bonnie's one of our rock stars at the high school setting when it comes to showing inclusiveness in her unified PE program. So thanks for joining us, Bonnie. Brian, can you, since our main focus this week is remote learning, do you mind briefly explaining and introducing the document you made and sent out to all of us for us to share with the families of students to give them a good idea what you're having some of your students do at home with remote learning?
Yeah, so we met with our executive director of special education back on March 13th. And she just set some expectations, what she wanted us to do. And myself and Katie developed a calendar anticipation that we're not returning to school. And I think that's kind of where we're at, is that we're not coming back to school, but for this year. Anyway, this calendar is every day has a theme. And as Brad knows, in our district, Mondays is our planning day, non-student contact day. So it's a great day to get caught up on different items that we need. But we created a 2 sets of focus each day of the week. and we geared it towards elementary and secondary. And we even moved through yoga. Our yoga company that we're working with has implemented some days of, they created a video and put that into, shared that with us, and we put that into the calendar. And then once the child completes the activities, the parents or the student goes to a Google form and they fill out this Google form. It's a really simple, not overwhelming for them, the parent and the student, and submit what they have done. So on top of that, every Tuesday through Friday, we have what's called adapted PE office hours, where that's been pretty successful. It's set up through Zoom. Parents can pop in and pop out, and students can pop in and pop out, and I'm there for 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. And it's a chance for me to still keep that interaction with the students and answer questions. Sometimes it's technology, or this link's not working, or that link is, we really like that link. Is there more that we can do with our child with that? And then, really it's geared to all our students in our population that we work with. So, if we have a student that's in a power chair, what activities can they do? If they have a student in a manual chair, what activities can they do? Students that are on the autistic spectrum, what can they do? So we really geared it to all the students that we work with. And then we kind of gave them the option. They can do it every day, or they can just do it the day that I would see them, that day of the week. But it's a great way for them to continue what have been working on and doing. So the routine that we have established throughout the year is still there. So it's our warm-ups. It's a fitness component. It's a skill component. And then it's a closure. So we try to work on the same, even though it's remote learning, we're still doing the same thing that we did while we were there at the schools. So that kind of answer your question, I hope.
Yeah. And Brian, I don't want to speak for you, but if anyone out there is watching, would you ever be willing to share that document that you created?
Oh yeah, I'm at we share everything. We don't. That's the best learning, is the sharing and developing it. You can tweak it. I've actually had 2 colleagues, my former office mate out in California. I've been working with them the last 2 days and even last week, helping them. And we just had a Zoom meeting with several of the adaptive PE teachers in Colorado yesterday. And we talked about that same thing, the calendar, and sharing it. Share the wealth, and that's the best way, is the learning, and is sharing it. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, Chris, at the end, can we possibly put Brian's email if anyone wanted to reach out? Because Brian truly is a gifted resource when it comes to any part of physical education, especially adapted.
We have
Brian, do you mind just really, really briefly explaining how you use technology to travel school to school?
So would you want me to talk about HeartTech specifically?
Well, I mean, not necessarily. Just talked about heart rate. Just it doesn't have to be any company. Just talk about heart rate.
So we do use that product, and I go to. It's a great product for the population that I work with. And why it is because it's instant feedback in the seeing of where they are in the colors. And Brad knows this, and I've talked to him about this, but we had a couple students that they weren't working properly, and they got a little agitated, and they were a couple students on the spectrum, and they knew that they were working extremely hard, but where's my color? My color's not up there. Why am I gray? Why is it gray? And but we eventually got that fixed. You know, what technology, it's always there's some give and take and learning along the process of using it. But I going to all the schools, we've developed such a routine that they come in, and sometimes depending on the student with their disability, that their peer will come over, help them get their monitor on and get going, and they start walking, and I project it up on the wall. Most of the schools we have a projector. If not, we just watch it right off the iPad. But they are so into it. We call those fitness days, and they are working to get either red, orange, or yellow during that class period of time. So I have 2 middle schools that I use it with weekly, and I have 5 high schools that I use it with weekly. And Bonnie's one of the high schools that I'm at, that I use it at, and it's been a huge success. I wish I had more than 33, but that's all I have for right now. And it's an easy tool for them. The students aren't so worried about their heart rate, because they know when they're in the red or orange or yellow, that color. And that's one of the things of working with students with special needs. Everything's color coded and all that, but they know that they need to be in those colors. And it's just easy visual, especially when you're projecting, it's gigantic on the wall, that they can see how hard they're working, and they can see when they're cooling down. The one thing that we would like to try, and we've talked about it with the yoga program, depending on the schools, is possibly using those during yoga next fall, and see how their heart rates fluctuate when they're doing yoga. And how, yoga, everybody thinks it's a relaxation, but a lot of times you are working hard in yoga. And so it'd be cool to see how their heart rates will work. So a couple of the PE teachers have talked to me about that. Could we possibly use those also on the days that you come when there's yoga? Because some of the high schools, I come twice a week. I'm there during their yoga time, and when we come another day, and we call that fitness day. And then we usually do like a 10-15 minute walk with using the technology. And then we get into like 3 or 4 activities that are related to fitness. So my big thing that I've stressed to the teachers is disguise fitness. Like in the unified adapted high school and middle school classes, I tell the PE teachers, hey, remember what it was like in elementary school? Play those same type of games, and you're going to get more movement out of those students and more enjoyable time for all, not just the students with special needs, but even the gen ed students, the PALs. So we always try to disguise fitness as much as possible, and especially on the days that I'm there. And when I'm not there, it's their time to carry on the rest of the curriculum, weave some of the adaptive athletic events in through their curriculum. But disguising fitness is huge, and we're really trying to make the students aware that, when we do take the heart rates off, or we're not using them, sometimes we just have them feel their chest, feel that the heart pounding, the body physically changing as they are working out harder. So, the technology that we use has been awesome, and it's a great, in Colorado and in our district, it's called Individual Educator Goals, the IEGs, which Brad knows about, and we use those. With these adaptive unified classes, we use this technology to help support that physical education teacher in their IEG goals. Because my thing to them is that you're going to see more success with your students with special needs on monitoring their heart rate than you are with your gen ed top of the line athletic student.
Absolutely.
So let's progress monitoring. It's a great tool. The parents are into it. The students are into it. It's just a great team. Like I talked about, everybody's trying to do what's best for everyone.
That's awesome. Thank you, Brian. This is Chris talking. And All of Brian's information is in the links below in the description. That's just a little triangle under the video right now. If you press on that triangle, there's many links there. Brian's link is there, as well as everybody else's, and our Google Sheet that we'll be sharing later. I know I teach an adapted class as well, Brian. My students are in a 6-to-1-to-1 setting, and I used to use or attempt to use the chest-based monitoring systems that were out there about 5 or 6 years ago, and then now switching to the optical sensor. Of course, it's night and day with that population with multiple disabilities, and it's really data and information on students that we could never get in the past as educators, and the students therefore could never get it. And I know with my students who have Down syndrome, the big thing is their hearts, keeping their hearts in check and properly hydrate their body and keep them at a certain temperature. So by able to do all these aspects in a single class time with me and my students, it's been invaluable for us here in my district.
Totally agree. Yes. I mean, even our students that are in power chairs, we have them wear it.
Wow, fantastic.
Because they can see that their color being projected, even though that they're moving their toggle, and we have them they go around the gym, you know, and it's great data. Like you just said, Chris, it's great data tracking.
That's great. One more question for you. What web-based platform are you using now to see your students? I know with that population of students, our classroom teachers are using something called Seesaw, where they can communicate. It might be a little simpler than Google Classrooms. I just wanted to know what are you using?
So we are using Google Classroom.
Okay.
And on that Google form that the parents complete or the student completes, we in one of the boxes. So it's a very simple form. It's their name, their email, their school that they're at, how many minutes that they completed their activities today, and then there's a bunch of check boxes of what activities that they did based on the calendar that we have shared with them. And then the last two boxes, the bottom one is the initials by the parents. And then above that is they can submit a video or they can submit a picture into Google and documenting the work that they've done.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
All right, Chris, do we want to take any question and answers for Brian, or where do you want to go next?
Sure. If anybody has any questions for Brian, they can put them right in the chat right now. Or if they want to talk to Brian live, Rich can put up my phone number and we'll leave it up for the next couple of minutes and see if anybody calls. If not, then Brian, any last ideas or comments? Where do you see your program and your adapted students going if this is taking long term? Is it something where you give new activities or assignments weekly, monthly? I know you mentioned the calendar, so it's just based on the activities for that month on that calendar?
Well, each day of that calendar has that focus for elementary and secondary. So, and when I teach, I do a lot of, am I frozen here?
Nope, you're okay. We can hear you.
Okay. And each day of the week, there's 2 focus items that they're working on. And so what I do is I always repeat a lesson twice because I want to see some progress that the students are making. So, and where we're going, one of the hard things, like I told my boss, is that it's been nice ahead of time to know that this was going to happen. So we had some of these families, check out the Strider bikes to them, check out some of the equipment to them so they would have it on hand. We did create at the bottom of our calendar a slide presentation that Katie put together of equipment that can be made and used at home, some simple items, using paper plates, using lines on the ground, and some sensory pathway type stuff. So we're going ahead with this. It's going to be interesting because direct service, especially the students that are in direct service, that getting them out of their chair and putting them into a gait trainer. Like Brad has one of those students that's in a gait trainer. And so how do we still support that progress that we've been working on with that student all year without that specific equipment? So those are some of the challenges, but I just want to, like I told the parents that come on the Zoom meetings in the morning, that we really want to continue and with the progress that we've been making this year. So
We had a question from Ross in the chat. It said, what would you suggest for a general PE teacher that's first trying to start a unified program?
So I have a packet that I could send to him. We have a couple schools that have some rigor to it. So it's almost like a class that the gen ed students, you have to find the right gen ed students. That's the first thing that will work. That want to be a part of this class and don't want to be an easy A. So that's why one of our high schools and I would say more than one now has some rigor to it. It's just not sign up and come and be a part of this class and get an easy A. You have to have the parents' permission, in the high school setting and in the elementary and middle school. Make sure you have the parentals, but you got to have the support of your administrators. If you don't have the support of your administrator, you're fighting an uphill battle. But I would suggest to start with your administration in telling them what your goal is and where you see this going. And if he would like further information on that, I'm more than happy to share what we send out. It's like a couple of page, it's like an application for the gen ed student is what it is. And that's a great way to start. So you get those, why I say that, because we'll get students that sign up and like a week or two into the class, they'll start saying, I don't want to work with the student that you assigned me to. And they'll have that mindset, and we'll, prompt them to keep trying. And eventually we have to get the counselor involved, and it's just not the right fit. That student, we need to find another class. So it's really important that you find those students that want to be a part of that class, and know the value of it.
Fantastic.
And Chris, real quick, I don't know if Bonnie is still on, but I know Bonnie would. Bonnie, if you're still on, do you mind putting some of your ideas in chat? Because I know you had started it too.
I know Ross asked the question. He's not a first-year phys ed teacher himself, but he's actually back and new to his new district in school. So that is definitely, you would be a fantastic resource for Ross, and I know he's all about unified PE and getting it started there.
Right. And so back to what Brad was talking about, Bonnie, Lakewood was one of the schools that first started this, but the prior administration, and I'll be honest, didn't want anything to do with it. They had a change in administration, and the previous teacher, who's now retired, she's the one that we met with the administration and got this going, and it's been a huge success at Lakewood High School. And so now Bonnie's carried that over and has done a great job at continuing that program at Lakewood High School.
Fantastic. Well, I think, Brian, thank you so much for your time this evening and your expertise.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian, with an I.
Thanks for all. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for all you do, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for all your support, everybody. And like I said, it's a team effort. That's why we get through day by day.
Thank you. We'd love to hear from you again in a couple of weeks if you have some free time available for us, and keep doing what you do.
Yeah, thank you guys too. Keep doing what you do, and all's well.
Have a great night.
Thanks.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Chris, should we answer Dan Anderson's question real quick about he said he's having a lot of Schoology issues and the system's crashing at 9 a.m. And real quick, Dan, my response is that's the reason I haven't used Schoology in the last 2 years. I've had constant issues with that platform. So I use Google Classroom. I love it. I have great success with it. And I think it's very user-friendly on the student side. So I would think tomorrow, if you're starting out or testing out Google Classroom, you will have great success.
Yeah, also, Dan, there's in our resources, it's in the description page, shows you a lot. There's a lot of information about Google Classroom and how to use it. So if you want to, check those out.
And welcome, Mr. Dan Gavrish here from Minnesota. I hope you're doing well. Hope the family's doing well. Thanks for taking some time out tonight to speak with us.
Hey, thanks for having me on. And the special effects I see hopefully are no more.
Oh, the haunted house is done.
Well, we can bring them back at the end, but thanks for having me. Any chance that I have to sit and talk about physical education with other passionate physical educators is a great opportunity. So, I teach at Martin Luther College in Minnesota, which is a small college of teaching of about 1,000 students, and I work in the physical education division. Just this year, I took over the physical education division. I teach classes such as motor learning, teaching physical education, which is taken by physical education majors as well as elementary education generalists. And then other classes like Fitness for Life, I've taught a lot of in the past, and some activity courses as well. Obviously, this whole thing is hitting us at the college level like it's hitting everywhere. No one's invincible to COVID-19. So we're having to adjust as well. In response to Dan Anderson's question as well, I do use Google Classroom. I also make use of Moodle. Moodle is another free online class platform that you can use if you're not a Google fan. Everything's on Google, so hopefully you are. But Google's very easy to use. I think Moodle is as well, and that's what our college university supports is Moodle. So all of my classes have moved entirely online. Some of them we meet synchronously, especially with the physical education majors. I'd like to keep building that relationship with them and have the face-to-face time with them as often as possible. So we meet 2, sometimes 3 times a week, and then other classes are larger groups, more of a mix of different majors and emphases and licensures. So those classes are done more asynchronously, but all of them are used Moodle or Google Classroom or Google Meet to have those face-to-face meetings with larger groups. I found it to work well. I think interesting, and I think most relatable to a lot of K through 12 teachers, especially middle school, high school, is one of the classes I teach or helped revise about 5-6 years ago is called Fitness for Life. And every first, second year, typically, every student has to take it as part of their gen eds at our college. And so with that class, about 5-6 years ago, I flipped all the content. All of the modules are already learned through Moodle, and we use class time to be physically active, track our activity with heart rate monitors. They go back in as part of their coursework and analyze their workouts, make sure they're targeting all 5 health-related components of physical fitness, meeting their goals or pursuing their goals, I should say, and tracking their goals, setting goals. So this is all a part of that class. And most of the cognitive work is done through Moodle. They come to class, they're active, and then they have to log 52 workouts throughout the semester. And that's their goal. And some of those are done in class, especially when we have team days. Somebody mentioned earlier about using heart rate monitors with yoga. We do that in that class as a group. And it's amazing how hard they are working. And it's cool for them to see it. But really, when this hit, that class was already set for success because everything was already flipped so that we can maximize physical activity time in class as a group, and then also individualized because they had their own heart rate monitors that they now have with them at home, wherever they are at home around the country, around the world, and they're still able to log their workouts. As the instructors, we're still able to go in and see their workouts. We're able to see them analyze their workouts and how they're physically active and to respond to them in their pursuit of goals. So, I'm a big proponent of technology in physical education. I think in that class and not all of our activity classes were set up to make that transition seamlessly. We have other activity classes that are like swimming and archery, and that's going to be a challenge. So those are tricky, but this one we really felt like, hey, this is actually a launching board for them to be Fitness for Life and now take it individualized. We had them for the first half of the semester. Now let's see what they can do individually. And I thought that was really, really kind of a silver lining of this whole thing when you try to look for the positives. Another positive that I'm hopeful for is that this will hopefully serve as a spark plug for technology integration into physical education, teacher education programs. And we look for more, better, and higher quality technologies to integrate throughout the PE teacher education programs, not just as a part of their field experience or student teaching experience or one class on technology. This is a shared technical culture at one institution and across institutions, working in conjunction with K through 12 partnership in how we can all be ready for technology integration at higher levels and see it as a partner in our physical education goals rather than either or a place that it doesn't relate, because we're all trying to create 21st century learners. So I'll pause there because I have a lot to say about technology use in physical education, and I'll keep going if given the platform. But
well, definitely, just going back to what you were saying, if we look at maybe an outcome that we'd like to have for seniors in high school, that would be take a device like a heart rate monitor, go out on your own accord in whatever aspect or activity you like to and enjoy performing, and can you reproduce the level of performance in that skill or activity that you're doing on your own that you would have seen by taking my class from kindergarten through 11th grade. So can those seniors take the learning onus out into the field, take their health into their own hands, and then, of course, transitioning that further to the college setting and for teachers who are going to be future physical education teachers, they definitely need to see that not only can I recreate the gymnasium environment for my own health enhancing activity myself, but then I have to turnkey it back so my students are getting that same level.
Yeah, so I think a couple of key points. And first of all, we are privileged to have students in physical education activity courses one more time after their 12th grade or their senior year of high school. And many students, they'll never take PE again. And at our college, it is a part of their gen eds, which is awesome. And we want to make the most of it. The other cool thing about it is it's not just future physical education teachers that take that class. It's future math teachers, future history teachers, future K through 6 elementary teachers, future early childhood teachers. And in front of all of these future faculty colleagues of the physical education teachers, they're all experiencing what technology integration in physical education possibly can do in a positive sense. And so it's helping to hopefully reshape their perceptions of physical education, which are highly ingrained and very difficult to change. I saw a question pop up from Dr. Chad Killian, University of Georgia State. Chris, Dr. Chad Killian would be the man you would want to have on this to talk about how flipped learning can be a partnership, especially at the secondary level. He did his dissertation on this topic at the University of Illinois last year and is in his first year at the University of Georgia State. So he's an expert on technology integration, especially flipped learning concepts and how that can partner. And hopefully I see, flipped learning. Hopefully, again, this is a silver lining come of all of this. This is a possible avenue that we can make use of at greater levels in our K through 12 programs, but especially in the middle school and high school level, as well as college. So he had a good question, and this is more of a research focus. How do you perceive this rapid transition to online learning impact teachers' professional socialization? So that's really how teachers are trained throughout their physical education their college years, pre-service teachers, as they are being trained. How will it impact them? Well, hopefully they now will come into that experience to be trained as a physical education teacher with some experience using technology, even if that is simply to go through Google Classroom to access my stuff. And, as a senior in high school, or as a junior in high school, or as an 8th grade.
We got a little frozen here, Dan, on your end. If you could repeat. I think we just lost Dan there for a second when he gets back on here for sure.
Oh, real quick, Chris, while we're waiting, I see Chad's chiming in. I do want to give Chad a huge shout out. He's on Twitter, and him and his other PhD colleagues, they're putting out some great resources for middle and high school teachers across the country for students to do, and they're basically online health modules that teach the students and navigate the students through social, emotional, and physical wellness. So if anyone out there is kind of looking for some health topics to assign their students or for them to engage in, really check out the health modules that Chad and his teams put together.
Well, thank you, Chad, for being here this evening. And I know, just speaking from the public school sector, I'm in New York on Long Island, suburb of New York City, about 30 miles or so. But you're looking at a time frame that we were asked to learn and integrate probably 10 to 15 new technological pieces as a physical education staff specifically, but as a whole district on the whole. And we had about 4 or 5 days to learn that. So the turnaround time right now is unprecedented. What we're being asked to do as educators out there in the field is more than ever and more technology than we've ever seen. So you have